Okay. Hey guys. Sorry if I sound a little sick right now. I am sick. Um, been for a couple days, but despite that, I wanted to make this video. I've been pushing off for a little bit just to sort of explain where I am with version 2 development. There has been a lot of progress, but unfortunately not as much as I'd like to be able to get it out within quarter 3. There's just been a lot that's been going on in my family and in my own personal life. Yeah, so I've been quite quiet about development recently because I have been a little behind, um, and I'd want to catch up before I start showing stuff. So I thought at this point I'm just going to show what I have done and sort of explain the game plan here. Like I mentioned before as well, I just recently graduated high school, so it's already been chaos, like trying to figure out my life after high school. And at first it was just a lot of like family stuff, of family coming in town for graduation. My cousin also graduates around the same time, so we had to go out of town for that. And so for the first couple of weeks, I wasn't able to really get anything done, but it was nice to be able to have a break. But I was ready to get back into developing and get version 2 started. But then, to put it simply, there were two deaths in my family within the span of like 3 to 4 weeks. So that put a lot of stress on my family and by extension on me. So even if you ignore the emotional side of it, like we were out of town for multiple weeks, I could do more of the planning side of it, but I couldn't actually get stuff done. Even though I wanted to, I wanted to be able to work. So yeah, and we finally got back after a couple weeks. I was able to get back to my setup, get back to work. Just to clarify, I only work when I want to. I'm not forcing myself to work under pressure, and I only work when I want to. So just we're all good. Yeah, and then once we got back, I was able to start working. I got some stuff done. Then I had a one-wheeling accident when going one-wheeling with a friend and got a mild concussion. I was wearing a helmet. I was all padded up, but it was still it was quite the fall. So I was out of it for a little bit, probably 1 or 2 weeks. Still, I've been slowly pushing along, getting stuff done, but there's still just been a lot of stress in my family. So motivation to work has been challenging. And then more recently, I've been sick. Like, I'm all good in terms of like now things are starting to settle down and I can actually get to work and really get a lot done. And like I've done a lot done. Like, I'm not saying that nothing has been done this past couple months, but and you'll see in a moment here, but it is not as far along as I would have hoped by this point. Like, I really believed I could get version 2 out by the end of quarter 3, as long as there were no drastic obstacles, I guess. And I got like 2 or 3 of those. Version 2 is not like just a small update with some changes. This is a full overhaul of all of the code, all of the system, and has so many moving parts that all have to work together in tandem. And it's really challenging to get it all sorted in my own head, but I'm getting there. I've built the frameworks for stuff to be able to run well. Now I'm in the stages of actually updating the algorithms, not just updating the framework. It's really, it takes a lot of time to make a software that's as complex as Standable is and make it simple to use. Under the hood, it's not horribly complex, but it's definitely a lot more complex than anything I've worked on before, especially because now I'm trying to get mixed tracking working, where you can take any full body tracking setup and merge it with Standable, and Standable will fill in the gaps for any points that are not being tracked or if tracking is occluded or anything. So I got the general framework working, and now I'm at the stage where I'm actually starting to re-implement Standable back into it, and I'm hoping for that to be a little quicker than the initial framework stuff. I got basically, there's like a UI, you can modify settings, turn certain trackers on and off at runtime, turn off Standable altogether without having to restart. And then I got a new system for setting the floor height. One, it should now automatically set the floor height for standalone headsets and PCVR or Lighthouse based. You shouldn't have to set that every time. And also, you won't accidentally set it because now you only use one controller, put it on the floor, walk a little bit away, and then it's all good. And then the new calibration is no longer a flick motion. A lot of users were confused with the flick motion because it's not a very natural motion. If you don't understand it, and it's hard to explain in words. So now it's just if you hold a T pose for about 1 second, it'll enter calibration mode. What that will do is it will align all of the trackers, and if a real tracker, like a Tundra tracker, if it's near one of the standable trackers, then it will use that as its input or as its tracking base. If a tracker loses tracking, it will, instead of just flying off into the distance or just stop moving, it will override with Standable's algorithm. This is all like, there's still a lot of testing that I have to do to make sure that this is a good user experience. There's a lot of tweaks that I'll be making, and in the UI, there'll be a lot of options for different users that prefer certain options to be disabled or certain features that might be affecting their performance, so they can turn those off manually and individually. Then after, let's say all of that is done, the last thing that I would have to work on is developer tools. Developer tools are not just important for developers to be able to put Standable natively into their apps and games, but also it's important for standalone users and Quest users and Pico, because at this moment, Standable requires Steam VR to be able to run the Steam VR plugin. Quest doesn't use Steam VR, so the developers tools mean Quest support. The developer tools are definitely a high priority, but in terms of the roadmap, it's unfortunately a little farther back because it requires me to figure out all of the actual implementation first, or figure out all of the actual code, so then I can figure out how to make developer tools to implement that code into other games. But for Quest users, I'm going to try, not a promise, but I'm going to try and look into getting a OSC app, so then Quest users at least can hold off until I can get developer tools out. I don't know. Like I said, it's all still very up in the air, and it's possible that I get a lot of momentum and I am able to release it by Q3, but it's a lot of stuff to get done in a month. And for developers, if you want to start preparing your app for Standable support, all you have to do is just make your app full body tracking supported. If it can work with regular full body tracking, then drag and dropping Standable's plugin will be a breeze. There'll be very little setup if you already have full body tracking support. So yeah, that's that. My Patreon is generally where I post most of my progress updates. I've been a little slow on there because, like I said, I've been trying to catch up. I'm going to try to post a lot more often of like what's going on, actual progress updates, not just feature updates, if you get what I mean there. And I think that's about it. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with everything. Thank you all so much for the support and the feedback. Because of you guys, that this can be my job. And I love that I can do this for a living now, and that's awesome. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you later.